You can still do it. There we go. All right. Hello, teachers. Welcome back to Florentis Learning. I'm Megan, and today we're getting real about one of the biggest challenges we all face, finding students. We're calling this one down and dirty because that's exactly what it feels like sometimes. You're out there experimenting, learning, sometimes stealing clients and trying to make things work. This isn't another polished step-by-step tutorial. It's a real conversation with Teacher Jay about the wins, the struggles, and what it actually takes to build a steady schedule of students. So grab your coffee, settle in, and don't be shy in the chat. We can get started by just letting us know where you're joining us from and how you're finding students. We'd love to hear from you. So welcome, Jay.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
All right. So why don't we just first talk about sort of when you started teaching online and how you felt about finding students, sort of how you got started, what you did to sort of do that.
So I started teaching online about, I don't know, 11 or 12 years ago. I started out and do not have a teaching background. I didn't go to school to be a teacher. And I started out at I worked at several different online schools, to be honest with you. I didn't go private until about 2 years ago. And I'm in the Asia market. In the beginning, it was just Chinese students. And then I moved to a few schools and I ended up with China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. Those are my three big areas. I've got a couple in Spain and a couple in Malaysia as well.
Oh, mine are I think mine are all in China still. I've not ever found sort of that secret to breaking out of the China into the rest of sort of that Asian market. I like the Asian market time frame for me because I like to teach first thing in the morning. But yeah, I think mine are all from China. And I think lots of us started on companies. I mean, I am a teacher, but I also started a lot of my ESL teaching online with companies.
Right.
And
I still have an account on, it's one of the marketplace sites. I still have an account on Amazing Talker. If somebody contacts me there, I'd be happy to talk to them. But so in the beginning, I was just like, well, I don't know how to find students, but and I started thinking about it, and I've had WeChat for years, and I'm like, oh, I've got like, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000 contacts on WeChat. So I started using that. And then it took me a while and I went, oh, and the only reason I thought about this is because one of my students on Amazing Talker sent me a message and goes, hey, is there any way we can just do this privately? And I went, oh, yeah, that would be just fine. And that's kind of how it started. And I'm not going to lie, in the beginning, I took every single student I had off of Amazing Talker, and I had 50 students. I took every single one of them. And I started out very carefully. I only talked about it with people that I trusted. And then my students, I had them for a few years. I pretty much got to know them all really well. It was very easy to move them over. But Amazing Talker is unique in the way that, so when a student buys classes, they buy them only from you. They cannot use those classes with any other students. Plus, I knew the pricing because you set your own pricing there. And I knew when their packages were going to run out. So I would and you're allowed to give social media contact information. It was so easy. I'm not even going to lie. It was super easy. I had everybody's WhatsApp, Line, WeChat, and Viber. I have a couple students on Viber. The Taiwan students use Line. The Hong Kong students use WhatsApp. And of course, the Chinese students use WeChat. So that's how I got started. I would, when they had a couple classes left, I would just send them a message. Hey, I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. I'm probably going to get fired from Amazing Talker if this ever makes it to them. That's okay. I don't have any students left on there anyways. I got them all. And that's really how I got started. Um, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to think that that's dishonest, it's underhanded, it's dirty pool, it's all of that. Maybe it is, but you know what? The schools would take them from you in a heartbeat if they could. It's no different. It's
Yeah.
no different. I offered them something, and what I found was the students valued the teacher more than the company. Um, and I only had one student not move over, but that's a unique student, and it's not really a student; it's students. It was there's a cram school in China that would buy classes from different teachers on Amazing Talker, and it'd be a different student every day I would teach them.
Oh.
Yeah, they would buy a package of classes, and then they were all IELTS students, and they would come to class. And I never knew who I was going to teaching. I just knew it was always IELTS. They wouldn't move over. Just they're a business. It was a little bit different for them. They have to go through several steps of approval to even buy the classes, and I tried, and I couldn't get them to move over. So that's how I got started.
And so you started with a big influx of students privately. But how have you sort of been able to maintain that? Like, what were some of
Okay,
those challenges that
so
you faced?
so the first thing before I get into the other things I've done, I would 100% say that make sure you take care of the ones you have. And if you teach kids, make sure you develop a really good relationship with the parents, because ultimately they're the ones that are buying your classes. Yes, we all know they are the customer. Everybody should know that. Shouldn't
Yeah.
have to say that, but um, yeah, that's what I did at first. I focused on keeping what I had, and then slowly adding. Now I have added a lot of students since I started. Um, I get a lot of referrals. Okay. I and there was one lady in China that referred, like, I don't know, last summer it was like 7 students in 10 days, and everybody bought. Everybody bought. So I gave her. She gets a discount.
Mhm.
I don't like just giving classes. I wanted to uh, kind of elevate her. So I called her a brand ambassador. Um, and she gets a discount. She's going to lose it this year because when she comes up for renewal, she's going to see she didn't keep sending me students. So there will be no more. They've got to keep sending. They don't have to send a lot, but there needs to be a few per year. Um, so I did that. The other thing, where else did I? I know you're probably going to want to talk about social media. Yeah. Do you want to
Yeah,
talk about
sure.
social
We can
media?
talk social media.
Okay. I will tell you, I'm a 100% complete failure there. I tried doing Facebook and Instagram, and it was a waste of time. But I did have success on Xiaohongshu in China. I did have success. Um, I don't do much. I'll be honest with you. I don't do much of any of that anymore. I have close to 80 students right now. I don't really, if I, right now I can pick and choose if I take somebody on. I've only got 2 time slots available in prime time, like between like 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Only 2 time slots available during the weekdays for those times. So I'm a little more cautious now who I take. Before I took everybody. I took everybody. I didn't care. I took them all. I took them off. I can be a little more picky now. But in the beginning, and you know what? It's me. It's not that social media doesn't work, because obviously it does. I don't have the patience to create these beautiful posts that I see other people make. I don't have that kind of patience. Um, so I just got rid of it. My website, I had a website for a while. I got rid of that because the only people that used it were my students to get to the scheduling, but they could have I ended up just giving them a direct scheduling link. Um,
Okay.
and so they just go straight to Calendly now to book me. So I shut it down.
So your primary source now really is just referrals. So if you're
Yeah,
watching, people, where are you finding your students currently? Are you having more success on social media? Are you having a lot of success with referrals? So with referrals, do you have like a referral program? Do you
I
actively talk
don't.
about referrals with your parents?
I don't. I don't ask for referrals either. Um, they just give them to me. So I have like one or two parents in Hong Kong that refer, and then I've got three in China that do a lot of referring, and three in Taiwan. I'm getting a big influx of Taiwanese students these days.
And how
Um,
did you get started? Like, I would love to get into Taiwan or Hong Kong even, but how did you start to get students from Taiwan? And
okay, so they Amazing Talker is a worldwide platform, not China. It's actually a Taiwanese company.
oh,
So I pulled Taiwanese students off there, and oh my God, I'm going to totally get fired from Amazing Talker. But yeah, I pulled them over, and they just slowly refer them. I had two Taiwanese trials this week. Referral trials, I find, are almost guaranteed buys, almost always guaranteed buys. I do some other things to promote referrals, like I will let families, like two families, split packages of 50 classes or more. They
okay.
get a lower per class price that way. I will allow that. Not everybody does, but I would only do it for 50 classes. I wouldn't do it for anything else. So it has to be at least 50 classes or 100. I have three families splitting one 100 class package.
And so with that, do you, when someone, for instance, because I know I get the question all the time, like, oh, it's expensive. Can I have a discount? Is that one of the discounts that you promote?
That I don't promote it. I
Okay.
offer it. I just
Okay.
offer it. And I never thought about doing that until a parent asked me. She goes, "Hey, can we split this bigger package with another family?" And I thought about it. I'm like, "Well, yes, of course. You just brought me another student." And I look at students where the price of the first package, I'm not really that concerned about, to be honest with you. I'll come in a little lower if I have to. Because I look at, when I get these students, minimum 3 years. I'm going to have them for 3 years. I have a lot of students from Amazing Talker that have been with me now 4 years. I have one lady that followed me from 5-1 Talk to Palfish to Amazing Talker, and now they're private. That's like 8 years. That's like 8 years of teaching. They followed me. I taught the oldest brother. Now I'm teaching the youngest brother. I remember when the mom was pregnant with him. I remember that. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And so when you talk about trials, what's sort of your typical trial process? Do you, use like a placement assessment from Florentis? Do you
I
do a
so
lesson?
I generally do a lesson. I have used Florentis, the placement. I don't know why. I have nothing against it. It was fine. I prefer, what I normally do is I communicate a lot with the parents before the trial. So I have an idea, a pretty good idea of where they're at. And I usually just bring up, like today, I used the Florentis lesson for the trial lesson. I just grabbed the first lesson in the unit, in the level and unit, and went from there. And you know, it's easy to switch if it's too hard or too difficult. I
Yep.
usually switch it up. I keep the actual trial lesson part very short, 15 minutes, because I want to have plenty of time to speak to the parent. If I will tell people, if you're not talking to the parent right after the trial lesson, you're losing money. You just have to talk to them. Don't give them a hard sell, but you have to talk to them. If I know if the parent isn't there for the trial, there's like not a very good chance they're going to be buying, you know. Although they still do. Um, I think. Yeah.
Cool.
So I think.
So do you have so lots of people give the advice that you need a niche, right? You're like, oh, this should be what you should focus on. Do you sort of live by that? Do you have a niche? Do you just sort of take whoever comes? Like, what's sort of your ideal student? Does that matter for you?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. Um, there are some types of students that like. I don't generally like teaching 3 and 4-year-olds. It's just not my thing. I refer them to other people now. It's just not my thing. It's too hard for me. I don't know if it's a patience thing or what, but a niche. I do think it's important that you should have a niche. You should. Maybe you have more than one. That's fine, but you need to clearly define them and how you want to present yourself when you're talking to somebody that's in that niche. I don't. It's not just throw everything up against the wall and go after what sticks. It's not quite like that. I do have a niche, and I think if you're a social media person, you can have many niches. I think. Um, but whatever post you're doing needs to speak to that niche. There are no general English social media posts that are going to do very well. I don't think you really need to define who you want to speak to. And you've been teaching longer than me, but I feel like I'm pretty experienced now. I'm very comfortable. Kids is my main thing. Um, but I also do IELTS. That's totally separate niche, and because of my background before I started teaching, business English is no problem. Uh, like I said, I don't like I don't like teaching the young kids, and something that I've been expanding lately. Thank you, Florentis Learning, for doing the advanced speaking classes. Uh, I've always struggled with what to teach these like 13, 14, 15, maybe even 16-year-old kids that are very fluent. Um, I've always struggled with that group. So your new lessons have helped in that area a lot.
And so for people who haven't seen our advanced speaking lessons, we have 47, I think. I don't know if I hit 50, but we'll probably hit 50 by Monday if I can come across some interesting topics. There is one free available in the free sample pack, or you can pick up the advanced speaking for like $5 a month, $4.99 if that's all you're looking for. So if you want to expand into the advanced speaking, I teach a lot of advanced speaking too, and they're fun to teach, right? You can have really good
Oh, yeah. The
conversation.
Halloween lesson is really good, by the way. It's really good. Uh, I think we need to work on your Dracula lesson. I think we need to
Dracula's on
work
the list for later today. Yes, I'm going to take a look and see if we can make Dracula more fun.
right, right, right. I want to scare them. I want to scare them. Because, that kind of stuff, I don't know what it is about Asia, but they believe in ghosts. And the stuff like Dracula, they're like, oh my God, what is that?
Yeah.
But the Halloween lesson was really good. There was another one. Do you remember one that I said that was really good? I can't remember which one it was that I talked to you about.
I don't remember. You've used so many of them now.
I know.
And you,
I think I've probably done most of them. Doesn't matter. But I haven't found one that I looked at and went, Megan, what the heck is this? What are you doing? I haven't found one of those yet. I'll keep looking though.
oh, there's some pretty odd topics up there, but the kids like odd, right?
Well,
Like,
you know what? The weird stuff, the non-standard stuff works great. It's so much better than cracking open a textbook and going, "Oh, okay, we're gonna do a unit on hobbies. Oh, how much fun is that?"
yeah,
They've done hobby
they've done
lessons for
hobbies, right?
years.
Like at
Right,
that age. So
right,
they need something that's
right,
a little bit more challenging. And certainly that helps retain students at that age too, because that's often an age where you start to lose them, right?
right,
They sort of
right.
plateau and they're hard to sort of
Yeah,
keep engaged.
yeah,
And
14 years old is about the time where I was always finding I was losing students. And, just at some point, they don't need me anymore, you
yeah,
know. But if you can keep the classes interesting and fun, you'll keep them around longer, even if they may not need you, because the parents like it when the kids enjoy the classes.
yeah,
They definitely like it.
yeah.
Um,
And it keeps them having that opportunity to speak with a native speaker, right? Because,
right.
if they're living in a country that speaks Chinese, they're not
Mhm.
hearing the English and having that opportunity
Right.
to speak with native speakers in the same way. So it sort of is important that
And
they have those.
what's really cool about your advanced speaking lessons, there's reading, there's always going to be reading in class. It's just the way it is. But the reading doesn't take a long time to read. We're in, we're out, and that's what I like. The reading is similar to something they would pick up on Ingu
Yeah.
or places like that. So I big fan of it so far. Big fan.
Yeah. No, and the reading just gives them enough background to be able to then have that conversation and
Right.
talk about something that is unfamiliar to them. So
And a lot of those that I've looked at that you've done, you've converted them and you've morphed, I don't know what the right word is, whatever it is, but you've created almost like a debate type lesson, but not a formal debate, because I will tell you, the kids will run for the hills if you say it's a formal debate. They don't want to do it. They don't
yeah.
want to do it.
And if you did happen to be teaching a class that was a debate class, there's no reason you couldn't take the lesson and use the content for that. But
Exactly.
um, it's also a lot easier to do a debate in a group class than it is to do it in a one-on-one situation.
Yeah, I have only done one-on-ones with that. Um, and your mileage varies. The groups, especially if you get some really outspoken students, it would have to be fun. I think that would
Mhm.
be interesting.
Yeah,
I think that would
yeah,
be interesting.
exactly. Are there any sort of like small shifts, like things, maybe something that people don't talk about, that's really made a big difference for you?
Hmm, small shifts. I'm trying to think. I should have seen that. You sent this to me before. I should have seen that question. That should have been
We can
answered.
go to the next one will
Oh,
be
no, no, no. Let
small
me
shifts.
think here. Um, Small shifts. I can't think of anything right now, to be honest, but maybe we come back to that.
What about what's something that didn't work, right? So, you know,
Social
things,
media,
social media didn't work.
100%. It was a miserable time. It's a miserable time. Some things that, like some classes, and I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to do these in a way that isn't boring. Writing classes, I'm not big on those. Still kind of looking for my groove there. I just finally started doing writing classes the past several months. I've generally just stuck to speaking, but writing classes, um, something that, uh, yeah, writing classes. And I tried doing some listening classes. I think that's just better done outside of class. like IELTS listening and
Yeah.
IELTS reading. I think that's better done outside of class. Writing for IELTS, I think that's the writing should be done outside of class so that way we have time to go over it.
Yeah, I know
Um,
for my writing classes, I spend most of my time in class talking about, like, not so much their writing, but going through the writing that they've
right.
done, talking about maybe how to add transition words, looking at new pieces or new
Mhm.
styles of writing, and then sending them away to do the writing and bring it back. And so, I might, even if I'm teaching something new, I might spend an entire class just correcting their
Right.
writing.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've got a shift. It's not small though.
Okay.
And I occasionally, and I'm surprised, occasionally you see something about it, but not very often. AI.
Hmm.
Hey, I can't believe I didn't think of that. I consider that not small though. I consider that major. If I know some teachers are terrified of it, that they're going to lose their jobs and everything. I don't think we're anywhere near, at least anywhere near that point. I'm not even sure we'll ever get there. I still think people would rather talk to a person.
Yeah.
Uh, I do think that, but I use it for a lot of things. I'll be honest, somebody submits an IELTS writing to me, I dump it into AI. I even send in part two speaking recordings. I drop it into AI and have it. I used to do it all myself. This is so much faster. It's such a time saver.
Yeah.
Um, it's more than just to be used. It's more than just creating social media posts. There's a lot more it can do. There's a
Yeah.
lot more it can
No,
do.
and I know I use um, the AI companion, and there's one class, it's a group class that I teach on Zoom.
Mhm.
And so I always turn on the AI companion
Yeah.
and I'll ask it. I'll be like, so and so just did a presentation, give me some feedback on the presentation and
You
some
cheater.
corrections. Yeah, but then the next student is presenting, right? And then I can copy and paste it and send it in private chat to them. And
Right.
so, it's and the feedback is generally pretty
It's
good, right?
pretty
Like,
good. It's better than anything I would ever give. I promise you that.
well, it's also more than I would give, right? Like I
Right.
might be like, "Oh, that's a great job. Next time we'll work on your introduction," right? To
Right.
really try to engage someone and get us listening before you
Right.
speak.
Right.
But
Right.
I'm not probably going to give them then, "Oh, you could have made your introduction interesting and engaging by
Mhm.
doing this or this or this." So,
Right.
whereas AI companion will. So it's and then I've used it most recently, which is super cool. And actually, the students responded well in that group class too. It was, we had been working on presentation skills and speaking, and they had done presentations, and we were working specifically on introductions and different ways to do it. And then I asked AI Companion to give me specific homework for each of the students that essentially focused on the
Oh
topic
wow. Yeah.
that they had been presenting about,
Right.
and took them sort of out of their comfort zone and forced them to write with a specific way and gave them suggestions on how they could morph it.
Mhm.
Anyway, and then they came back and did their presentation again next class, and it worked really well because they had been forced to sort of like, oh, not just talking about drawing, I'm going to talk about like why creativity is important and stuff. So it was cool. Um, but I mean,
So
so many options.
some of the other things that maybe I don't think enough people do is, after you do the trial lesson, you talk to the parent, send them a thank you message immediately afterwards. But if they don't, if they don't, like, send them another message a day or
Yeah.
two later. Hey, did you have any other questions? The other thing that I struggled with for a long time was asking people for money. I was very shy about doing that, and you just got to get over that. You just get over yourself and ask them. Say, hey, here's my prices. If you're interested in any of these, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. I always follow up with that. And uh,
Do you have your
if you're
prices like on an image that you just share and it's ready to go, or?
I'm going to be honest. I hope none of my students see this, but uh, different students have different
Yeah.
prices. It depends on when they caught me.
Yeah.
when they came on board. It just, and will I ever get to a point where everybody has the same price? Probably not. Um, I don't think I'll ever have that, but like, I have an idea of which parents I can charge more. I know which parents are more price sensitive than others. Um, I keep a record of that, and for God's sake, you got to raise your prices every once in a while as
Yeah.
well, because everybody gets a pay raise every year. You should be getting one as well. You should
Yeah.
be,
And
you know,
prices on everything goes up. So when you're,
yep,
people are like, oh, I don't know how to sort of indicate that my price, it just is the fact, like no one's going to be surprised when you indicate it's been a year and the price has gone up by,
right,
$1 or whatever it is.
right.
So,
It's not a lot. You can't you can't slap them with a 50% price increase. Uh,
no.
but yeah, and in the beginning, I had a hard time figuring out the payment collection. Um, I generally just use PayPal now. I do have Stripe, but in China, man, they lose their mind because it's two devices, and I'm like, you know what? Here's PayPal. Just use that.
All of my, I use SuperTeacher, so they are paying often mostly with
I
WeChat.
used that for a while in the beginning.
And I have Stripe. And so, but I've never used PayPal for payments because I just find that the percentage that
In
PayPal takes is
China,
really high.
it's not that bad. It's only like 4%.
Okay.
But and I think you have to check into this. I converted my PayPal account to a business account,
Okay.
and I can create payment links right in PayPal and send it to them. They don't even need an account. They can just
Uh,
pay. They can just pay with their card with the link. But PayPal's not the most popular platform in China or in Asia. So you have to reassure them, listen, they don't get charged any extra. You lose like 4 or 4.5%. How much is Super Teacher charging these days?
SuperTeacher, it's really just a Stripe fee. And then I pay a monthly subscription, but
Right,
my monthly
right,
prescription is old, old, old. So,
right.
uh,
You have the same one I had, probably
yeah,
10
it's
bucks a month.
yeah, exactly. And I
I
think
was her
it's
first
17
paying
or
teacher.
27. So,
I was her first paying teacher.
well, I wasn't her first, but I for me it's just simple and I like the fact that it tracks the classes. So,
Mhm.
it's I don't track them the same way. I don't have everyone on there though, so I use my Notion for some of my students and some of my older students are still not on there. But
And speaking of Notion, whatever you use for your back office stuff, get it set up before you have a lot of students, because setting it up afterwards is a mess. It's a mess. I use Notion now. I
yeah.
converted from Google Sheets and Google Drive, and I converted everything to Notion. Thank you, Megan. Megan helped me with the initial setup. It probably looks a lot different now, but she helped me a lot in the beginning.
Um, so right now, obviously, it's a holiday in China, and certainly we're entering the fall season, which tends to be busy. But sort of, do you have like, what do you do about seasons? Do you notice sort of those drop in bookings? Does
Yeah,
that bother you? Do you just do you do any
I
like
just go
special
with the flow.
packages or
I tried that.
okay?
I tried a like back to school thing. This was a weird summer for me. Usually, I've always been super busy in the summer. This year was very manageable. But I tried a back to school package. I tried that was about a year and a half ago. I tried a March Madness thing.
Okay, yeah.
I had zero takers on that, by
Oh,
the way. Absolutely. Anything gimmicky never worked for me. I
okay.
feel like people saw right through it. And and that may be my presentation of it, 100%, because when I do anything like that, it looks like a 5-year-old did it with a giant crayon. If you get that. So none of that worked for me. Doesn't mean it wouldn't work for other people. That's an area of this business that I haven't done the best at. But what I do well is I don't ignore potential opportunities. I check them out and I follow through. And if it looks like a good deal, I take it. I've used agents in the past. No problem with them. The pay isn't great, but if they're filling hours that you don't have filled, nothing to complain about.
Exactly.
Um, I I got involved in this lady from China. She made a post of all places on Reddit, and I didn't expect this. They gave me 25 to 30 students within 2 or 3 days. It was incredible. But everybody else that responded to her post was like, "Oh, I wouldn't get out of bed for that much money," But when you're just starting out, I don't think you can do that. You can't be that selective. You might be the greatest teacher in the world, but if you're just starting out online, nobody knows that. You're going to have to be realistic in your pricing. I think that pricing has a lot to do with it in the beginning. You can't charge $40 an hour in the beginning. You just can't. I've seen so many teachers fail because of that. Um,
Yeah.
Especially kids teachers. I think people that teach adults, I think they can get away with that more. So I feel like parents are willing to spend more money on their classes than they would for their kids. That's what I think.
Yeah, and some of it I think is that there's lots of choice too, right? So, if I can get a class for $20 or I can get a class for $14, like,
Right,
is there enough of a visible difference between the $14 and the
right,
$20 class to those
right.
parents to say, yeah, it's worth that extra $6, right?
Yep.
Um, and I mean, for people who've taught with companies, we're also people seem very willing to jump on and take really crappy pay from a company. But
Oh
then
yeah,
when you when you go private, it's like, oh, well, I want the whole amount they were charging that parent
right,
versus, yeah, but you were just making $7 a class.
right. You got to
And
be
so if
realistic.
you get $12 a class or
Mhm.
$14 a class,
And
you're now making almost
and now
double.
you've got a student that's potentially going to be there for 3 years or more.
Mhm.
That's why I don't teach a lot of adults, because the adults generally have a goal, and once they hit their goal, like they've got to do an interview or stuff like that. Once they've done that, you never see them again.
Yeah.
Most of them, but that's also why one of the reasons why adult classes are more expensive.
Oh yeah, I mean, certainly I know because I take French classes as an adult. Once I got my elusive C in
We,
my oral speaking, it was like, okay, well, I don't need tutoring at the moment, right? Like
right,
I've got my
right.
PCC, so I'm good. But, we have to redo our speaking exam every 5 years. So, coming up on that 5-year mark, you can be as certain that I'll be taking classes again.
Right, right. It's got to be pretty easy to find French speakers in Canada, though.
It is, yeah. And there's actually quite a few countries who have native French speakers. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've gone to marketplaces for French classes as well. And then I've used social media. Like there's a Facebook group for, people who are trying basically specifically trying to pass the same exam that I was passing, and people share recommendations for tutors. And so I had pulled some off of there. And I think that I mean, for social media, I've had like social media hit and miss. Xiaohongshu probably would be the one that's worked the best.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Me too. It's the only
But
one that worked.
yeah, and I mean, and I do have a YouTube channel for my like private teaching, and I have gotten a few emails off of that, but it tends to be um they tend to be a lot of work to get them to like to convert, right? Like,
Right.
so, and I think the YouTube channel is, I think part of it for me is having, like, I have a website. Well, I have my SuperTeacher page. I do actually have a website that I don't really use anymore. I mostly use my SuperTeacher page. I have my YouTube channel. I have my Xiaohongshu profile. And then it's sort of proof to parents that I'm a real person, that no,
Right.
this isn't something that is
That,
new. You've got a bit of a
you
reputation.
know, the web page thing was helpful for that in the beginning. It's kind of, it gives you some credibility.
Yeah.
Um, Now, like I said, everything comes through referrals now. It just, I'm very trusted, and oh, another thing, speaking of trust, when you're starting out as a new teacher, this is a big mistake that teachers make. Don't cancel classes. Be there. I don't care if you have to drag your sick carcass out of bed. You got to be there in the beginning. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I see a lot of them. There'll be a student coming up and just like, oh man, I just don't want to teach it, and they cancel. And
Yeah.
That hurts your reliability scores. So just
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. No, and I cancel very, very, very few.
Oh, the
Like,
only time I cancel is when we've got a typhoon or a power outage. That's it.
yeah, exactly. Now I don't have typhoons, but I have like blizzards and
Right.
hurricanes, and yeah, and then as a result, a power outage. Although we just put in a generator that will within 5 minutes switch our whole house back on. So
That's what
my
I do.
power outage canceling is probably no longer an issue, but the
Unless you need it, right?
unless we need it, I guess. Yeah. During a couple of years ago, we got hit with a really bad hurricane, and we were 13 days without electricity.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a
So
long time, even in the
some
Philippines.
of the people who live here were 3 weeks without electricity,
Wow. That's a
and
long time.
um, and I mean, we have a well and that sort of thing. So 13 days is no electricity, no water, right? No heat. Like it's a big deal in Canada. So we're quite excited about our automatic. It wasn't a cheap investment, but it will be nice if we
For
need
sure. For
it.
sure.
So, if you could go back to like your first year of teaching, what would you tell yourself about getting students?
Which first year? Private teaching or
So if someone's getting started on a marketplace, do you have sort of tips for them to sort of get students there?
yeah, for sure. Especially amazing talker. I'm very experienced. I'm actually a mentor still.
Okay.
Probably not after this video, but yeah, the marketplaces. If you don't offer anything very special, that's also very in demand, your pricing is going to be your selling point. So
Mm,
you're going to have to start. I started my pricing out at Amazing Talker at $15 an hour, and gradually increased it. When it hit a certain point, you stop getting matches.
okay.
So it's very sensitive. And like I said, I teach mostly kids, and kids' classes aren't, you can't seem to pull in as much money as you can as if per class, unless you're teaching like business English, IELTS. If you have that specific niche, you can charge pretty good for IELTS, but not in the beginning. Not in the beginning. You've got to kind of prove yourself. So marketplaces, yeah, I would say they're most sensitive to pricing because, and pay attention. Like, I'm not going to share my screen, but I don't want to out myself any more than I already have. But like on Amazing Talker, when the student goes to look for a teacher, there's several things they can click. One of the things is pricing, and there's brackets of pricing like 10 to 14, 15 to 19. Whatever bracket you're going to be in, set it to the very top because the same people are going to see you. That's
Mm,
that's one thing. Other than that, I find that there's a lot of luck involved in the beginning in the marketplaces. I haven't done Preply or Preply, whatever however you say it, or italki, I think is another one. I haven't done
Yeah.
those. But I found that pricing, the type of classes I do was very price sensitive there. Um, and the same thing of the Amazing Talker Marketplace is almost the same thing as teaching on your own. You set your own rules, you set your own pricing, all that. You do have to create a profile. I don't have any good tips on a profile. I don't know what works on there as far as profile goes. I think the pictures and the videos do more than anything. Your profile picture, I think, is the first thing. Because I generally think people spend about no more than a minute looking at a profile to see if they
Yeah.
want to take a trial lesson with you.
I know I don't even tend to read the description very much. Like when I'm looking on italki for French
Mhm.
teachers, I filter by price and by native French speaker, and then I look to see if they've got some reviews, and then I
I,
figure
I
I'll
look at
check.
their experience too.
Yeah,
I look at
yeah,
their experience.
exactly.
Um, doesn't mean they have to be them because I have to. I My son learns Korean,
Okay.
and uh, I have to I have to go through them quickly. Um, and he only wants female teachers, so I don't know why. I don't know why. But yeah.
Um, and um, what is so let's think about like practical things for teachers. So if you're watching and you're looking for some really solid, try these things this week. What would you say are your tips?
Look at opportunities that look at don't just discount the opportunity in 10 seconds. Really take a look at it. If and always keep in contact with people you've done trial lessons with, whether that's a email list. I have an email list. I don't use it though. I
Mhm.
just use WeChat, WhatsApp, Line, and Viber. I keep in contact with them, and every once in a while, I will drop a message to a random person from the past. Um, that's what I would do. Like I said, I'm not the person to help you with social media, but the down and dirty,
And so
yeah.
if people have students that are former students, random, like, because we all build these really big WeChat
Right.
contact lists, right? And or if someone has maybe someone that they did a trial with that they never bought, do you have sort of a tip on
Yeah. Hit
follow
them
up
back up.
or
Hit them back up. If you're starting I brought back a student when I sometimes teach the meteorology course. I brought back a student with that. I created a little flyer in Canva and just dropped it in just posted it to a bunch of people.
okay.
And I brought back a few students from that. And um, those were group classes. And the parents went out and found the other students for me to fill them up. And I kept some of them, not all of them. I didn't
Mhm.
keep all of them. But stuff like that. I generally keep a really solid relationship with people. It's really important. Um, and if you are working on a platform, I'm just going to say you have a lot of potential students right there. You got to be careful. Don't get yourself fired, though. I happened to work on a platform where it was very easy to do.
Yeah, and
It
some
was
of them
very easy.
are more challenging for sure. Um, but if you can have that personal contact with the student, then
Right,
that
right.
really allows a
Yeah,
lot more.
I didn't even use Amazing Talker's Zoom for my classes. I used my own Zoom account. You don't have to use their platform.
Mhm.
You can use it. It's a really good place to do it. I'm not
Yeah.
going to lie. If anybody needs any help, you can contact me. I will. I won't do it for you, but I'll tell you how to do it.
What about teachers who are just starting out or they feel stuck? What's sort of your top piece of advice for teachers
Like
starting out?
just starting out, okay, pay attention to your pricing. And like I said, the if you feel stuck, you got to do something. You know, and what is that? I'm not sure, but I know when I feel like that, like I try to add two new students a month. I don't really have to right now, but I try to add two students a month. And where it's amazing once you start doing stuff happens. These people start magically appearing. So, is that starting a group on WeChat? Does that work? I'm not sure that works anymore. I know it used to. I'm not sure
Mhm.
that's the way to go now. But, if you're just starting out, look into working with some of these agents in China. Yes, they're hard to find. Yes, I have some. No, I will not give them to you. Don't ask that. But and a lot of the agents that you'll find, they don't pay very well. It's up to you to decide if it's good enough to get started. I know that if I needed money coming in and all I had was this agent offering $13 an hour, I'd probably take it. They're not going to, but stick with a reputable one. Make sure they pay weekly. Don't accept anything else other than weekly from an agent. Um, I have one that I don't use him very often. He's not really focused on online classes. It's more in person, but he always contacts me when he has an online one. He pays me after every class, which I really don't like. I wish he would just pay me weekly,
Mhm.
um, but it's fine. Other than that, um, treat. Now, this is kind of general advice. You are a business, treat yourself as such. You're not, you don't want to be some dude or chick. I am who I am. I'm going to use those words. Um, don't, you don't want to present yourself as just somebody that does it as a side gig. You know, I had problems collecting payment from a student, and it's the only student I ever let go into a negative balance in classes. Finally, I told her, I said, "Hey, mom, I said I really need you to pay whatever it is. If you just want to pay for the two classes and then you're done, that's fine. But I don't let anybody go negative. I do. This is what I do. I don't. This is not a side gig for me. If you present yourself as a side gigger, you're going to get treated that way. So if you have another job outside of this, they don't need to know.
Yeah.
They don't need to know. You know,
Yeah.
they
No,
don't need to.
and I would say the same. Like the very, very few of the parents that I teach would know that I do other things in addition to,
Right.
um, you know, just being a teacher.
Do they
And
ever ask you, who's this Florentis? Hello, Kelly Tag.
excellent. Kelly's here. Hi, Kelly. Um, yeah, and so they just don't like, and I teach, obviously I use my own lessons in classes every day, but no one necessarily knows that they're my lessons that I've created, right? It's
And I also, Reddit. That is something that I'm starting to look at and take a little more seriously
okay.
into finding students. It's, you know, I, I miserably failed at social media, but stuff like Reddit, I would do well. I know I would do well at. Xiaohongshu, did I get like 30 students from there? No, I didn't get that. But I picked some up, and through them, I got referrals. So if you're in the Chinese market, and you're not using Xiaohongshu, I don't know what to tell you. Then you
Yeah,
got to use it.
you got to use it exactly.
Uh,
Um, no, for sure. And I think that I mean, from my perspective, and obviously I'm a little bit biased because Florentis Learning, but if you are getting started, don't you need to spend your time finding students and making sure you've got money coming in and building those relationships. You don't want to be spending hours preparing lessons. And so, choose,
Oh, yeah.
choose a
Shush.
curriculum.
Let me say something.
Okay.
All right. So I have a lot more students than most private teachers. And uh, what Meaghan was saying was absolutely right. Um, I need lessons that I don't need to prepare for most students. I need to be able to open something up and go. No preparation. Florentis is great for that. And there's some other ones that are good too. But we're on Florentis channel, so we only talk about Florentis. It's my favorite one right now, though, for sure.
And Jay knows this best, but Florentis is also very open to suggestions and feedback and like, I need this. So, we did actually just surpass our 500 lesson mark this week, which is super exciting. And at the moment, you can still get the complete classroom curriculum for like $10 a month, or else there's a
Guys,
lifetime
it's a
subscription.
steal. That's a steal.
Even if you've only got 10 classes a month, you're talking about $1 a class, and you don't
Right.
have to do anything.
Yep.
So yeah.
Definitely.
But if you look and you're like, oh, I really want more of this, or I want something on this topic, send us a note. We can probably figure out how to work that in. And truthfully, that's where a lot of the advanced speaking lessons came from, was, out of needs for teachers. There's brand new KET prep lessons, which was also a request from teachers. There's B2 first test prep lessons, which wasn't so much a teacher request as it was a me request, because I had a new B2 first student. So I'm like, I need materials. So and then there's also writing lessons. So, and as you use a lesson, if you're like, oh, this lesson works really well, or this lesson needs something, then, send a note, and we're happy to tweak and make them work the best for everyone. So it's how we end up with lessons that everyone loves. Any sort of last minute thoughts, advice, Jay, for
Yes.
everyone?
Yes. Obviously I didn't present anything earth shattering because I don't think it's needed. What I will say is I got some advice from, she didn't give it to me directly, but from Jillian one time. Don't be afraid to try things that other people aren't doing. Who finds students on Reddit? You know, I picked up 30. And yeah, don't be afraid to try things. You know, at some point I do need to go back and revisit social media. I just hate it. But I need to go that. But yeah, don't be afraid to try things new. Don't, you got to get out of that comfort zone.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. So that's awesome, Jay. Thank you so much for being here and being so honest. And I know teachers watching this are walking away with some practical ideas and probably lots of reassurance that, they're not alone in this, that finding students is something that we all have to figure out what works for us and struggle with. If you're watching the replay, drop a comment and let us know what resonated most for you. Before we wrap up, take one thing you heard today and put it into action this week. So getting students takes time, but every small step makes a difference. And if you want to save more time for teaching instead of prepping, head over to florentislearning.ca and grab your free ESL sample lesson pack or the complete classroom curriculum, and you'll see right away how much easier it can be to actually teach and grow your business. See you next time for another great teacher chat. We will be live on Tuesday with another teacher who's talking about how she gets students on Outschool. So this is all very focused on, on finding students is our theme right now with and so join us Tuesday. Thanks, everyone. Click like and subscribe.